Welcome, everybody, to the Westminster Business Council Virtual Networking. This week, we have the amazing Paul Ward talk to us about NLP. Over to you, Paul.
Excellent. Thank you, Lena. And we've tried this already, so I know it works. I'm going to share my screen straight off, if that's okay with everybody. So a quick thumbs up that you can hear me and you can see my screen. Excellent. I can only see 3 people on the screen, so I had the right 3 people put their thumbs up then, which was a massive bonus. So I'm going to just quickly start by introducing myself. There's a few people on the call who've already met me, but for the benefit of those who don't know me that well or first time, so Paul Ward, and yes, my company is called Blacktop Coaching. That was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek reason for choosing that name, because I do tend to wear black. It's part of my musical heritage. I was a goth when I was younger, and punk and all that sort of stuff, and it's kind of stuck. The other reasons for Blacktop is musical, because it's related to my favorite band. They released an album in the early 80s that was called The Top. And I used to draw all the artwork on the desks at school, which I now have as tattoos. The final one, and probably the most relevant one to coaching, if you're familiar with those wonderful little spinning tops, little metallic spinning tops, I think a film called Inception. So I always visualize those spinning tops as a client, and my role is to get them spinning. And once they get spinning, those spinning tops, they wobble for a little while, and after a while, they maintain their balance and they stay true. So I'd see that as my coaching analogy, rather than just talking about my clothing attire, which is nice to have a backup for that one just in case. So what do I do? Well, as already has been alluded to, NLP has formed a big part of my coaching journey. I'm now a certified trainer of NLP. I train people practitioner and master practitioner level. I also train timeline therapy. I use NLP in all my coaching. I also use another tool called motivational maps, which we'll come on to a little bit more as I go through the 10 minutes or so that I have with you this afternoon. Motivational maps are a tool that dig down to what motivates us at a core level. And the reason I bring them in at the introduction is that I'm the only one of only 2 people certified globally that can train you in NLP and motivational maps. So we're told we need a USP, so I get mine out as quickly as I possibly can at the beginning of a presentation. But I work with clients who are finding themselves a little bit stuck. And when I find that people come to me feeling a bit stuck, and in fact, I'll put it kind of out to you guys really in the sense that just questioning you, have you ever felt stuck? Have you ever felt almost as if you're at a junction and you start thinking to yourself, you know what, there was a stage through my business journey or my life journey, relationship, whatever scenario you want to put on this, to actually think to yourself, you know, I should be further along than I am at. And we start then noticing that our mindset is getting affected by that. We might find ourselves in networking events. We were at the great launch last week, of the ESG network, and some great people in the room. And when you start putting yourself in those rooms, you start thinking, should I be further along than where I am now? Should I be? And you start comparing all the time, and it affects your mindset, it affects your confidence. And at the same time, the things that originally used to motivate you into setting up a business, taking that first step, well, that shifts and changes over time with maybe you start a family or you change career, whatever it might be. So we lose our track a little bit. So when I work with my teams, my individuals, or in the training work that I do, we kind of mindset and motivation is constantly coming up. And it's just trying to work out which of these 2 do we address first, because I've cheekily named the 10 minutes presentation that I've got this afternoon is what comes first, mindset or motivation. And everyone I spoke to about it kind of looked and thought, actually, I've got to choose one. Then taught themselves out of it and said, no, I think it's the other one, because of course they just loop around constantly. So let's just explore where they come from just for a second. So with the NLP work that I deliver, and I'm sure there's many of you in the room that have experienced a level of NLP, one of the key elements is how we interpret the world around us, and our behavior is a result of how we interpret the world around us. So if you consider it right now, at any one time, I don't know who counted this, but there are millions of pieces of information. I've had one number at 2 million, another at 10 million. constant flow of information coming through our phones, through our laptops, through wherever we are. You sit on a tube and you still have information coming to you all of the time. And as we move through life, just in nature, there's a load of stuff going on. Now, we just cannot effectively operate in a world if we were to notice everything. So we filter that information down using what we refer to in NLP as our filters. So we've got 10 million bits of information, and we filter that down to around about 5 or 7 chunks of information. And the thing that really decides how we filter is our mindset. So you may have some information coming to you and you would delete certain bits of information that are no longer important to you and just let go of them. We sometimes will distort information. We've just been talking about rugby. Now, if you were a Saracens fan, I can't remember what the result was, but I went to Army Navy a couple of weeks at Twickenham, and the Army versus the Navy. If you're in the Army, you would absolutely have had a different experience than what the Navy fans did, because the Navy won. So you have a different mindset based on where your values have come from, where your upbringing and your memories, your decisions that you've made in the past. We also generalize information as well. As we move through life, we have a general idea of how to operate in most situations. We don't have to rethink everything. So our mindset is what creates that. So we'll come back to that in terms of, well, how do we shift it? How do we change it? Just moving on, just have a bit more of a, excuse me, a bit deeper dive into what mindset actually is. So I've just got this phrase up here: a set of attitudes and beliefs and assumptions that shape our world. So it's what's going on in our mindset is how we then perceive the world. So I know there are some people that I've bumped into recently that find public speaking, for example, a bit of a challenge or a bit of a fear. So it could be that is a mindset that at some point has become a bit fixed. So we are telling ourselves, I'm no good at, or I am fearful of public speaking. So therefore, we have a certain mindset that is stuck, that is fixed, which then creates a level of limiting beliefs, just as the same in the other side of the scale, that if we have some great experiences, we then end up with empowering beliefs that we believe we can do certain things, and we have certain confidence and self-belief mixed with that. And as we go out in the world and do those things, we start to notice those areas in which we feel really positive. You know how it feels when you go out and do something and you get that great feeling, that sense inside that actually I want to do more of this. That's where the motivation kicks in. Now, many of us on this call and many of the people within the WBC are business owners. We all became business owners at some stage, probably for lots of different reasons, but certainly one of them could well have been to have more freedom and autonomy to do the things that you wanted to do. So we became motivated by that sense of freedom and choice. When that's not being met, we notice our motivation levels start to dip down a little bit. But the motivation itself is essentially the fuel that drives our mindset. And without it, we can have the most positive mindset in the world, but if we're not motivated to take action, we're unlikely to move forward. Likewise, we could be heavily motivated by lots of different things, but not having a mindset of which we can stay focused and on target and hit our vision. So if that's the case of what the two are, then which does come first? Well, we've already explored it. There's a cyclical relationship. I put that word on there to see if I could pronounce it, and it came out perfect that first time. Cyclical relationship between the two, because when one drives the other. And my favorite example of this is just going back to that public speaking. Because it's such a common fear in the UK, I believe it's the number one fear, and more people fear it than death, which is bizarre. But I was delivering a 2-day public speaking course, and there was a member of the group. There was about 6 people in the group. This person had come in, and she said to me at the first coffee break, she said, "I don't know why I'm here." She said, "My boss sent me. I didn't want to come, and I am absolutely petrified of public speaking." Now, in my mindset, I'm thinking, you're petrified of public speaking, you're on a public speaking course, you probably are in the right place. But I didn't say that to her. I just said, well, what's going on there? And she said, well, I have a fear of public speaking, so I was absolutely no way interested in coming onto the course. But her boss had the motivation to send her. Now, she started with that fixed mindset of, I cannot do public speaking. By the end of the second day, when she had delivered a 15-minute presentation with no notes, no preparation, stood up, guess what she wanted to do at the end of it? She was motivated to do another one and then another one, and we couldn't stop her. She just kept on going. So her mindset had shifted in that situation, and then of course her motivation followed straight behind it. So now she was leaving the course highly motivated to get out there to deliver as many presentations as possible. So exploring that a bit further, we want to now cultivate a growth mindset so that we can enhance all that motivation that's going on. So we recognize that motivation and mindset are intrinsically linked. So what do we do to make sure we're moving forward? Well, first of all, we attend webinars such as this. We attend training courses. You may certainly, and I thoroughly recommend joining a group of great mindset people is what we have in this group. But in all seriousness, turning up and mixing with the people that actually have a mindset in which you want to model. We need to see, hear, and feel what it is that we want to move towards in order to then be motivated to then do what we need to do to make it happen. So certainly look at training events, maybe take on a coach or to attend coaching seminars, whatever it might be, wherever your personal development is at the moment, re-examine it and just think, how can I develop a greater growth mindset? And as you do so, you will then start to discover exactly what ignites your rocket. For me, this is where I now bring back in the motivational maps. So if you can clearly articulate what it is that motivates you, that gets you energized, that gets you out of bed in the morning, as you write your visions, your goals, and set your direction, you can ensure that those things are present. Because if they are present in everything that you do, you get motivated to do more of it. And that's what drives your mindset and develops into that growth mindset. And if you explore that, and I invite you to do that right now, explore that to the point where, well, I'm curious to know, am I highly motivated by freedom and autonomy? Am I highly motivated by security and stability? And then ask yourself, just how is that going for me right now? So before I finish off, I just want to throw a question out, really, just as we come to the conclusion. So if we now know that the two are connected, we knew that always, of course we did, motivation and mindset. By developing a growth mindset and being aware of what motivates us, puts us in a position to positively influence the world around us. So I ask this question at the beginning of every training course and conversation I have with people, which is, if we know that, so what percentage, and I invite you, if you wish, to drop this in the chat, what percentage of your success depends on your ability to positively influence the people around you? Yeah, so what percentage of your success depends on your ability to positively influence the people around you? Now, I'm sure there's some numbers coming into the chat, and if you are, I'm grateful for that. What I tend to get in the training room is anywhere between 50% and 100%. Okay, so there'll be a huge variation wherever I go. But we know it's a lot. So the following question is always, if we know that, when was the last time you invested any time, energy, or money in developing your ability to positively influence the world around you? And that's something I want to kind of leave you with, as I now just leave you with my final slide. And as a thank you for spending 10, 15 minutes listening to me and to the group, and invite anyone who wants to complete a motivational map, a 10-minute questionnaire, just to get in touch with me, drop me a message on LinkedIn or whatever, and I'll very happily send you a link to complete a motivational map. And maybe then we can have a one-to-one to have a chat about your results, because I'm sure you'll find it hugely interesting. So that's me, Lena, and thank you very much for listening. I'll stop sharing. There we go.